How you doing, everyone? This is Mark Rizzoli here with another episode of The Gloves Are Off. Today we're going to be discussing if Tammy Murphy is qualified for the U.S. Senate. Those of us say no. So let's talk about Tammy's biggest issues. Of course, abortion. It's what her and her husband are obsessed with, Phil and Tammy. The interesting part of this is, she's big with abortion, but yet, as First Lady, her project she was working on, Nurture, New Jersey, was about promoting maternal infant health, which really tells you a lot about Phil and Tammy. They promote late term abortion, which for me is a non starter, unless it's for medical purposes. It's murder. Um, you know, a lot of candidates, unfortunately, Republicans seem to want to dodge this issue of abortion. But I think it's really simple. Late term abortion, unless it's for medical reasons, non starter. I think people like Planned Parenthood need to stop promoting abortion like it's a form of contraceptive. Start teaching children about being responsible. But unfortunately, the radical Democrats, they love to use Planned Parenthood and abortion to get themselves elected and reelected. When in fact, especially when it comes to Phil and Tammy Murphy, they're so big about identity politics. But yet they fail to tell you Planned Parenthood was found by a white supremacist. So as they come around and they want to tell you about the Republicans, they're against abortion. No. Common sense has to be applied to abortion. Late-term abortion, non-starter, like I said earlier, except for medical purposes. No one's saying women don't have a right to choose. Okay, we're opposed to late-term abortions. Then Tammy Murphy wants to get into gun violence. She says New Jersey has this gun violence epidemic. Not even true. New Jersey has the most strict gun laws in the United States. In fact, if she wants to get into why crime's rising, all she has to do is sit down at the dinner table and speak to her husband about it, because his policies have handcuffed law enforcement and protecting criminals. Bail reform, this ridiculous narrative he keeps pushing, and he recently pushed it again, that the judicial system has failed black and brown people. Always about identity politics, not protecting the community. Never. Because party ideology comes first. He wants to divide people. That's what he's all about. That's what the Democratic Party is all about. Okay? They talk about crime and the whole law and judicial system like it's targeting the black community. I'm a retired Jersey City detective. I can tell you we never once at roll call was instructed to target a specific race group. We targeted criminals. Doesn't matter what your race is. A criminal is a criminal. But Phil Murphy and the radical Democrats, it doesn't matter. They're not concerned about that. They want to make sure you think that the black community is being targeted, which is the furthest thing from the truth. They've been pushing CRT and DEI, 5756, which attacks parental rights. But yet, they never offer, as do school districts, by the way, never offer any data that supports that. Let's see the information that substantiates their claims that gay children, or whatever they want to identify as these days, are being targeted within these school districts. I have yet to see any data that substantiates their claims, as well as boards or people who attend these meetings and disrupt these meetings with this nonsense. Please produce the data, post it, share it. Let someone see it, because it doesn't exist. It hasn't existed. Where's the data from the police departments? If the DEI, CRT, and all this other stuff, you need these in the school, let's see the data that substantiates all these claims. I'm sure if gay children are being targeted, the police department's being notified. If they're being mistreated at home, DIFAS should be getting notified by these school districts. So produce the data. All we hear is a whole lot of lip service. Her other issue is affordability. Really? Should Phil and Tammy Murphy even be discussing affordability? New Jersey is anything but. And when those two are done destroying New Jersey, they have the means to pick up and leave. When you out there, the blue collar person who works their ass off every day, you don't. You have to live with the mess. We're stuck with the mess that the Murphys are creating because they'll be out of here. You know, they're all for being a sanctuary state. Well, they live behind a wall and they're protected by the state police. And that's a fact. You know, Phil and Tammy Murphy, as far as they're concerned, zero accountability to taxpayers. They're above everybody. How dare you question anything? How dare you oppose anything? We see it all the time. Concerned parents who go in and question the policies that they're promoting. What happens? Their buddies at the NJEA immediately go in attack mode. Parents are extremists, domestic terrorists, MAGA parents. Ooh, really scares you, right? That's what they think about concerned parents. Who the hell are you to come in and question anything we're promoting? Our policy is our policy. And listen, they're protected within the Democratic Party. Phil Murphy handed out board appointments. I mean, for example, Middlesex County Democratic Chairman Kevin McCabe is appointed to the Port Authority, one of the most powerful boards around. Big contracts there, large budget. The Murphys, listen, they believe they're untouchable in the party. They can do whatever they want, and everybody has to fall in line, or else they'll pay the price. This is why it really validates the argument now that these party lines need to be removed. Let's have open elections. Ooh, wow. The substandard candidate can't be protected. And we know Tammy Murphy's substandard. There's no doubt about it. She's not qualified to be a U.S. Senate. She's a disgrace. Who does the things that these Murphys do? Not a normal adult. Targeting children. It's all about abortion, mutilating children, right? We're a sanctuary state for now, for sex change surgery. Promoting mutilating children. They're disgraceful. You know, Murphy claimed he's going to remain hands off in this election. No, he's not. 48 hours after his wife announced, they still ran radio ads with her speaking, $100,000 radio campaign to promote Nurture New Jersey. Then all of a sudden, everybody, no one knows anything. He loves using taxpayer money, the Murphys. Love it. Phil and Tammy love using taxpayer money to promote themselves, to promote the Democratic Party ideology. That's what they're all about. And who's going to oppose them? Who's going to oppose Governor Murphy? Nobody in the party. They'll let him do whatever he wants. Money. They want to buy that U.S. Senate seat. And they're in the process of doing so. And no one's going to stop them. At least no one's going to try to stand up to stop them. Prominent Democrats have already pledged their support for Tammy Murphy. What happened to a debate? You know, I give Andy Kim credit for standing up against Tammy Murphy. I really do. That's what the process is all about. And I even give him credit for even speaking out what I just said about this is why the party lines need to be removed. What is Tammy really about? We know they have a lot of special interest influence, thanks to the NJEA. You know, as we all know, or if you don't know, you will know now, $2.5 million were given to a dark money group, New Direction, which are big supporters of Phil Murphy. NJE also endorsed Phil Murphy, pledged that they will advance his agenda on public education. That's where all the CRT, the DEI, the 5756, all this stuff comes into play. Because that's what they're all about. And the NJEA is no longer, I want to say this again, no longer a labor union. They're a political action committee. They're an arm for the Democratic Party. That's why they're engaged now in local Board of Ed races. They're giving money. They're endorsing candidates. Of course, candidates who believe in Phil Murphy's radical agenda on public education, not about what's best for the children. That's what's disturbing here. Everything I've talked about so far, you never hear them discuss how we're going to address their learning loss. Phil Murphy and the NJEA, their response to that was, let's lower the standards for testing. Lower the standards. This way we'll cover up our incompetence. Tammy Murphy, a mother. Phil Murphy, a father. Disgusting. Locking children down. Such a long period of time. The isolation. They also don't talk about the mental health crisis they created with children. You know, they want to sit there and brag that they're doing such a great job. Where? Our schools are a mess. Massive learning loss going unaddressed because it's all about their policy, their radical agenda. That's what it's all about. It's all about getting kids to transition. Tammy Murphy, a woman. Why aren't you out there defending women's sports? Everybody out there, please respond to this. When you signed your daughter up in a school, did you sign a waiver giving up their rights? That they have, how about the right to having privacy in their bathroom or their locker room? Did you give up their right to that? Is it okay with you that boys who identify as girls are wearing dresses or whatever and going into the girls' bathroom or the locker room, playing female sports because they identify as something, because they suck, going up against other boys? So now they got to go play against girls, ruin their sports. When is that okay, Tammy Murphy? As a woman, why aren't you speaking out against that? No, that's why you used abortion to cover up the fact that you're a substandard candidate. You don't belong in the U.S. Senate. Your husband doesn't belong being governor. You two are a disgrace. You're the reason why I have started saying elected officials need to be randomly drug tested if submitted to psychological testing, just like police and fire are prior to being hired. The things that the Murphys do, normal people don't do that. Never seen anything like it. Elected officials meeting with other people, elected officials, some who identify as women, groups, right? Putting policy together to target your children. Then, when, God forbid, if you get questioned by parents, the NJEA rolls in and starts their attack. Or the Attorney General starts investigating parents or school districts, sues school districts. Imagine taxpayer money being used to sue school districts who want to do the right thing by your child. When did that become a crime? That's the problem. They're so obsessed with their Democrat radical ideology, they're no longer in this to do the right thing. They're in it to use taxpayer money to advance their political careers. And you see it right now with Tammy Murphy. She's never done nothing to distinguish herself. What has she done? She's a fraud. The Murphys are a fraud. They legalized the gateway drug, marijuana. All you had to do is decriminalize it. I would have no problem with that. Everybody knows, as a retired detective, all the training I went to, DEA, FBI, you name it, I went to it, gateway drug. Counselors even say it's a gateway drug. Now it's even worse. It's not the marijuana from years ago. It's being laced with everything, including fentanyl. That's where we get back into the sanctuary state that Tammy and Phil support. open borders. Okay? How was fentanyl coming into this country? Through our southern border. You could even make the claim that Phil and Tammy Murphy are okay with the fact that chemicals are being used on our people. Because that's what fentanyl is. Comes from China, sold to the Mexican cartel, then it's transported to the U.S. And it's killing thousands of Americans, including children. But that doesn't matter. Because we have to be a sanctuary state. Spending your money. Not spending tax dollars to help our children. No, it's all about promoting themselves and their policies. And you have to ask yourself, recently, Phil Murphy said, he wants more affordable housing. He wants to put affordable housing in the suburbs. He wants more. He wants to destroy the suburbs. Okay, I'd rather have a town full of warehouses and retail than a town full of apartments. Affordable housing makes your life unaffordable. You have to increase your police, the strain on your school district, fire, EMS. It's a fact. More apartments in your communities equal more calls of service. They don't want to tell you these things. Because what's important to them, identity politics. But identity politics doesn't apply with Andy Kim, of course, son of Korean immigrants, right? Oh, it's different now because Tammy's running. Oh, is he real? He's really one of Korean immigrants? Now you have all these white guys in the Democrat Party who conveniently forget about that. But for people like me or anyone else, you're a racist, xenophobe, homophobe, every phobe. That's the hypocrisy. You've seen it recently. All of a sudden, Tammy Murphy's running for Senate. Phil Murphy's telling the governor of Texas, and now warning these bus companies, let me know when you're dropping off illegals here. We don't have the resources to handle them. Let's get them right on the train and send them to New York. Just goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, what frauds the Murphys are. Remember, they're the same people who told you don't gather during Thanksgiving, Christmas, during the so-called pandemic, while they were engaging in BLM protests, large groups. It's amazing, right? Children couldn't be in school. You couldn't gather with your family during the holidays, but COVID avoided the BLM protests. It's amazing. I guess Dr. Fauci must have been sending messages. The hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. Phil and Tammy Murphy, the frauds of New Jersey, the first family of nepotism, identity politics. They are a joke. They're a disgrace. And the only way you're going to send a message that you're no longer going to accept is by going to vote. You vote by mail, vote early. You have to get involved. 8 out of 10 not voting in New Jersey is just unacceptable. Do it for your children. Make sure you vote in primaries. Like I said in the previous show, at least limit the morons, right? I don't want to vote for either person, 2 morons. No, go vote in the primary. You can eliminate that. But just go vote. If you're not going to vote for your children. Vote for yourself. Vote for your children to protect your children. You got to stop these policies. Kids don't need to be learning about anal sex and everything else, kindergarten and first, second, third grade. Kids should be kids. Let them enjoy their lives. Instead of being encouraged to transition into another sex. I don't know, Tammy. Are you going to try to become Tommy if you win the Senate seat? I don't think so. Phil, you going to become a Philomena? 2 clowns. Never seen anything like it. I was going through the police academy, and I had an instructor. He said, anyone who will hurt a child, just think what they would do to you. And it's true. I want you to think about it out there. Apply that to the Murphys and his minions there in Trenton, because they are hurting children. The psychological is just as bad as physical. And that's what's going on in these school districts. That's why you need to get out to vote. We're going to keep talking about it here because it has to be talked about. Andy Kim, you're welcome to come on anytime you want. You can have a great discussion why you're more qualified than Tammy Murphy. Feel free. We have mutual friends. Reach out. And before I go, send us a message. I want to hear back from you. Do you think Tammy Murphy is qualified to be our U.S. Senator? As always, I encourage you to stay informed and ask questions. Thanks for joining us on The Gloves Are Off. Unfiltered, uncensored, unbelievable. Until next time, this is Mark Rizzoli signing off. God bless America.